Hello and welcome to Ivy Times TV. I'm Sally Turner, joined here today with Robert Rees and Jeffrey Fox, authors of The Transformative CEO. Gentlemen, thank you for joining me today.
Thanks,
now,
Sally.
Firstly, who is a transformative CEO and how does that differ from, say, an ordinary CEO?
Well, I'll take that. A transformative CEO, it's a new category. It's someone who revitalizes a company, reinvents an industry, or reboots society. And what the transformative CEO does, the CEO's job is to get from here to there. They do it differently. They transform, and they generally outperform the market. So a quick one, what's the hardest thing to transform? The egg. I mean, it's the ultimate commodity. But what Eggland's best, Charlie Langtree, did is he took the egg and he said, if I change what's inside the egg, I could reinvent it. So they started feeding chickens differently, and the result was higher vitamins, was a better tasting egg, and this egg, Eggland's Best, has had 17 years in a row of growth of over 17%. That's pretty significant. And right now, when you buy eggs, it's like become the best-selling egg, all because he transformed what's inside. So that's what a transformative CEO does. They transform, they change.
Speaking of transformation, you two had an interesting collaboration on the book, I believe. Why don't you tell me a little bit about that?
Robert, you started.
Okay, well, you know what happened? So I love reading business books. I've probably read, this is going to sound like bragging, because I'm a really slow reader, like over 500 books. One day I was reading a book, How to Become CEO, and I said, this is, the writer is the best business storyteller that I've heard. And so I looked up the name, Jeffrey Fox, and I think I'd read another of his books too. And I said, I have to speak with this guy. So I did something I never do. I looked on the internet. I found his phone number. I called him up. He did something he never does. He answered his phone. and then we said, well, let's have breakfast the next day. And then Jeffrey, I see, is the best business storyteller in all of America. And all I do is I interview CEOs nonstop, day in, day out. And so we had this idea. And Jeffrey, you probably get...
Well, when you read all these interviews of all these fantastic people, men and women, they're just enormously and very generous with their time, and you read through them, you can start to see patterns emerge that we used as their contributions to the ideas in the book. I mean, as you know, it's a very short, fast book, and I don't know how many chapters there are, but we just eclectically plucked the various people, you know, John Paul DeJoria, Charlie Langtree, you said, Jim Skinner, head of McDonald's, the guys that are head of UPS, Cirque du Soleil, General Mills, on and on. Fantastic companies, Tony Hsieh from Zappos. And they have these great contributions. And so I think that the viewers should buy this book because they can see what some of the best people have already done. Go to school, get an MBA.
Yeah, oh, I wish. But speaking of movers and shakers and the top CEOs now, Marissa Mayer, Yahoo. Her background over 10 years was with Google, and now this is her first time as CEO, and she's about to become a first-time mother. What advice would you give her, and do you think she can be transformative as well as a mum?
Well, first of all, she has to be transformative. And yes, she can be both, obviously. And she will be very successful if she does one thing. If she finally determines what business they're in. As the French say, what is their raison d'etre, their reason to be? And Yahoo has been all over the map, and no one knows what the heck they are. However, they really should be, in my view, in the news business. They should understand that their competition is the New York Times, the Huffington Post, the Wall Street Journal. Once they understand what business they're in, and they can shed all these crazy divergences and all these different kinds of investments in different things. I think prior management, maybe the board, maybe the founders didn't like that. It's not sexy like Google and some of these other things. But if they agree that figure out that they're in the news business, they will be a juggernaut for 3 years. At the end of the 3 years, if they haven't figured out how to persuade their readers that reading the adverts is the price for a free news publication, if they haven't figured that out, they'll start to slow down again. But once readers say, I'll read the ads, because no one's reading the ads on Facebook, I'll read the ads on Yahoo, then they've got a real business. I think it's going to be great.
What kind of strategies can Marissa move forward as a CEO in order of finding their identity as a news outlet?
Could I answer a different part of that question?
Absolutely.
Because there's something big here.
Okay.
That I'm going to surprise you, Dan, because we've never gone this, but I think women are actually better suited to be CEOs than men are.
Oh, I love that.
And you're going to say, oh, it's the better team players. No, it's not, because that's for different reasons. Do you want me to tell you why?
I'd love to know why.
Okay, so here's why. This is, see, but this is something, I mean, I know I've interviewed hundreds and hundreds of CEOs. I read this book, The Owner's Manual to the Brain, which says that the man's brain is structured differently. There's a piece of the cranium that blocks off two pieces. So men focus on one thing and they're great at being myopic. What women do is, a CEO's job is really like a stove, and there are like 6 burners turning on and off. Women see the connections. They see the synergies, because there's no blockage going on there. And that's what makes them better suited. And frankly, if we could have, we have so few women mentors, it's amazing, so few women on boards. If we had, let's say just 50 out of the Fortune 500 CEOs were women, that would be one great way to elevate business, the economy, and society. And women, by nature, often become more transformative.
And we have a lot of women, relatively speaking, in the book who are CEOs. We had the CEO of Xerox, was Anne Murray, the CEO of McKay, excuse me, the CEO of the Girl Scouts of America was Kathy Cloninger at the time. Maxine Clark, who's founder of Build-A-Bear. Anne LaPlante, CEO of Beakley Corporation. It's a product that sells to women. They've saved millions of lives, women's lives. So we really do had purposefully looked for that. And so I agree with Robert. I think that I don't think there should be anything holding her back because she's a woman and because she's having a baby. No, that's great.
Speaking of the Girl Scout, I think you guys did a very interesting chapter that probably hasn't been done in a business book yet. What is the Girl Scout rule?
Well,
you take this one. He loves it.
I do. I think when the chapter's called "Lead and Live by the Girl Scout Law." I don't remember the Girl Scout law per se, but I have it in the book. But what was amazing is this organization was founded in 1912, so this is its 100th year anniversary. 70 million girls have been Girl Scouts. Every female astronaut, many Olympic gold medal winners. And so many famous people in business, Hillary Clinton, Queen Elizabeth, movie stars, singers. It's an amazing organization. And I think the law and the Girl Scout promise that's in the book is, whether you're a man or a woman or whatever, you should learn and live by it. It's a tremendous leadership thing. And that's what the Girl Scouts of America are all about, leadership, which is a lot of what this book is about. Of course, the Transformative CEO is about leadership. And so that I think is an interesting observation by you.
Absolutely.
Could I share something that people will gain from the book? Because we have all the different principles. Or do you have a question instead?
No,
okay.
Go ahead.
Okay, because here's a really important one. What transformative CEOs do is they recognize that obstacles are opportunities. Right. People usually see obstacles as, what am I going to do? But you look at Marvel Comics, look at the Spider-Man movies. And that's an example how the obstacle was an opportunity. And the story's in the book. And what Peter Cuneo did when he took over as CEO, Marvel was at 96 cents a share. They had just undergone bankruptcy. And they really had no assets. They just had about 7,000 characters, mostly had not been used for years and years. So they did the only thing they could, which is they monetized the characters in major motion picture movies. Spider-Man, Hulk, Universal, Sony, they did joint ventures with them. They were so successful in movies, in about 5 years later, they were able to raise about $562 million, build their own studios internally. Talk about transformative, talk about outperforming the stock market. 96 cents a share. About 10 years later, Disney bought Marvel for $54 a share. And that never would have happened if they didn't have that challenge. So a key thing that CEOs or entrepreneurs or anyone should do is look at when you have an obstacle, say, there's hidden in there an opportunity.